What's up, world? You are welcome to this telly, and today I have our guest,
Tipo.
Deepo, aka Black Child, aka my, what do we call you now? My co-reader. This month is going to be, most of the books that I'm going to be reading this month, I'm going to be is like based upon his suggestions and all that. And today we are discussing Sapiens, a brief history of humankind. This book. Okay, why don't you start? Okay, I think what I would like us to, okay, now don't forget though, my idea here is to come and convince you to read this book. I honestly think I might be overreacting, but I think that this book is a book everybody should read, at least at one point. If you don't read the real book, read the summary, but have a good idea of what this book is about. So let me start with the idea of the book. Yuval Noah Harari is a professor who studied life or Earth as we know it. Now, Sapien, you know who Homo sapien is? That is us. How we got to where we are. Starting from, how old is the world? Over 1 billion years or so, Abi?
Yeah.
It's believed that the Earth is over 1 billion years. So he went all the way back, and he's been studying using biology, physics, chemistry, anthropology, art, through everything, and then he has come up with some conclusions about how the Earth became what we know it to be today. And then in the end, he actually goes on to do something like a forecast, saying this is what would likely happen and this is how it could likely be. So that's the general idea of the book. Okay, so let me start. What factor shocked you the most? Like, was there a particular thing that you just thought? Because there are too many, when they say bombs in this book, and there's something like, is that what happened? You understand? But can you remember one that anytime you think of it, you're like, now wow, you know?
Yeah, like you said, I think there are actually so many, and reading this book, if I would just look at it as a summary, one should look at it from, let me say, wear your cap well, sit down well when you want to read this book. It will help if you remove any biases.
Yes.
And because he looks at things very holistically. And honestly, this has entered like my top 5 best books of all time. Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
It's like the most complete book that I've read. It talks about so many things. It talks about life, it talks about man, it talks about religion, it talks about culture. Talks about history. I love history so much, and he's a professor of history, by the way. And history is one of the oldest disciplines, really, because as from when man started to write, man was recording what was happening at that point in time, and that's what we look back at now and call history. So he said something about the agricultural revolution and the way we choose to look at development. And I think maybe when he said we think of human beings being domesticated or domesticating plants, and he said he argues that it should be the other way around, that plants domesticated humans, because it was when we started to, during the agricultural revolution, when we started to plant and keep things, that was when the sense
that's
of...
when we start farming.
Yeah, farming.
That's like when you get a plot and say, this is my land,
yes,
I farm here.
Exactly.
That's what it means, yeah.
Before then, we were hunter-gatherers and we were moving about, foraging for food and all of that.
Things grew anyhow, so you just go pick something and go.
Yeah. So once that idea of, this is my land, this is my crops, it kept human beings on one spot. They stopped moving about as much, and then the sense of, this is mine, and then you have the sense to protect it. Someone should not encroach. If somebody encroaches on my land, I can kill the person, I can, that kind of thing. So it led to a lot of conflict. But just the idea that plants domesticated human beings, I think I found that...
Shocked you?
Yeah.
You're talking about, was it wheat that you started with?
Yes.
It was wheat that he said that suddenly we assumed... One of the things I think, what blew my mind about his theory of the agricultural revolution is that we became more unhealthy when we started farming. That thing shocked me. But think about it. Most farmers don't do multiple. Like it took us sitting down and now studying that we needed other what are the classes of food for us to know that we needed to be healthy. Most times, a farmer that farmed cassava ate more cassava than any other thing.
True.
Do you understand? A farmer that had palm tree will take more palm oil palm oil produce more than palm tree produce more than every other thing. So it's like that's what that had done before. by default, by just picking and
moving on.
I'm moving on. You can tell you'll be able to take on different whatever. So you can eat meat, you can take fruit, you can take your salt, you can take your what others in carbohydrates. So like that, you can just be taking, But once it just became this is my own, I remember one of the major things that struck me, though it's not one of the major bonds, but one of the things that struck me was that he said that one of the major things with the Homo sapiens is that we are highly intolerant, and it shows till today. We're highly intolerant people. And he explained that, there's a theory of evolution. I guess I'll put a picture here so you guys can see. The theory of evolution, according to Darwin.
Yeah, Charles Darwin.
Charles Darwin, where he said that we moved from first of all, we're like monkeys or so.
Linear.
So it's like we moved from this Homo something to another Homo until we became who we are now, and all that. He argues that that's not what happened. What happened is that all these versions of Homos existed at the same time, but because Homo sapiens are so intolerant, it's likely that we just moved all of them,
killed off all the others. Yeah, there's actually evidence of human beings. By human beings, that means in the genus Homo.
Yes.
So whether they were Homo neanderthals or Homo,
it's been said that Homo neanderthals still exists in some parts of the world. That's what he said.
No. There is a little percentage of their DNA, especially in Europe.
In Europe, okay, yes.
So now, I think one of the interesting things about this book is that is your ability as a reader to decipher what is facts, because a lot of these things are still being disputed. There's a lot of facts in what he says. There's also his own commentary that's running in between, and there's not much of a separation. So you have to understand that even though he has said all these things, you probably need to do further study into whatever aspects you are interested in, because he talks about so many things. And while there's from biology to paleontology to archaeology, and then chemistry, physics, like she said, and history as a broad subject, anthropology, all these things. So these are very wide disciplines. So it's a multidisciplinary approach, talking about human beings. There's a lot of politics in it, economics, all of that. So that's why I said it's the most complete book that I think I've read so far.
So while the idea of the Homo whatever, that's his idea of saying that all the different forms of beings existed at the same time, and that the sapiens are the most this thing. I think one of the things that happened to me was that it made me start looking at the world in a more like looking at the world from outside. Does that make any sense? Making me understand that I'm just one tiny bit in the midst of every other thing, and learning to look at life that way. Like his idea of money, what money has done to us. A lot of times he was like that money is that paper. Okay, first of all, let me say the main bomb. The main bomb was things that he called myths. Religion is a myth. Your rights are a myth. Money is a myth. The stock market is a myth. So it's like, just because you've been told that if you have blah blah blah, that means that you're like this, you agree. And that's what you work with. So it's like your idea of realism, your idea of what is fact is actually dependent on whatever has been fed to you over and over again.
And the more we all believe it, the more we sustain that myth.
Yes, and how that has disrupted the way we are as a people, and that has led us to destroying our planet. The way we treat animals is a problem. So we've gotten to a point where we eat things like eggs and meat without feeling anything. Do you understand? But if you understand the way this is being done, the way the process of, like they said, the chicken, the way that they are placed, the way they are, to have their eggs, so like they are treated like machines. Thank you, the way the animals are being machined, that's actually how it's explained. Like that on its own is very unnatural. Do you understand? But we talk about how natural, we want natural things, but we're unnaturally doing things to get what we want, to make ourselves happy or to make us feel good. So it's like it's affecting the way we do everything, the way we look at money, the way we look at freedom. Suddenly we just wake up one day and say, that if we are happy, or to be happy, we need to travel somewhere to do it. It's like, that's not exactly natural per se. Sometimes it's better to find happiness where you are, because you're going to be there for longer than to go somewhere. Because if you go somewhere and get happy, you're still going to come back to your place. So it's like, that's what I liked about it, is the whole idea of looking at the world from outside, and they're understanding that a lot of things are more myth than facts. They're not as solid as you may think it is. You're like, in jail, money is cigarettes.
Yeah, it's just a means of exchange.
Yeah, it's a means of exchange.
Whatever
money is cigarettes. So like, to get your hair done, 5 cigarettes. To buy a book, 11 cigarettes. Do you think if you bring $1 to this thing, they won't set you on fire for bringing it? What are they going to do with the $1 in jail? Do you understand? And funny enough, it's that this cigarette one, it seems to be common in most jails in the world. It's not just an American or US or it's everybody seems to have that. When you go to jail, cigarettes is a go. So it's like we have to understand the idea of money, the idea of wealth is not this thing that we look at, this or the number in the account. There's more. There's so much more to it. So like it opens my mind to possibilities. It opens my mind to what possibilities. That's the only word I can come up with that. Yeah. So that's, I don't know, is there anything you want to say about the book? This year, it's hard to talk about this book, and there's just so much. There's just way too much. There are too many things to talk about, but at least these two that we've talked about. Just okay, let me talk about one more thing. He said that he doesn't understand. He will never, in all his research, he hasn't actually gotten to a point where he put it down and found out why women are being treated a certain way all over the world. That's the female Homo sapiens. That somehow, as if everybody just gathered up in some other version of life and said, okay, so these women must be suppressed. And everybody said, okay, fine, suppress them. And everybody was suppressed. Because initially everybody was everybody. Everybody did their work, but as in the beginning, then suddenly the more communities and the more states we start creating, suddenly women needed to be pushed down. So like that is one question I think he's not even trying to ask or even is like, sorry, answer. It's more like, okay,
can't answer all questions.
This one, no, he's saying that this one is even saying, see, I don't know what happened. We don't know how this happened, but this is just what's happening. We don't know how suddenly everybody just suddenly feels sit on these ones. Don't let them do this one. Don't let and it just stays like that. Okay. Do you understand?
Yeah, I think what I would like to add in conclusion is that he talked about the idea of progress, and we have this belief that as the world has progressed, we have actually, as time has passed, we've actually made progress, meaning it's been beneficial to us as a species, to the planet, which is not actually true. He says, for instance, the agricultural revolution was a scam, as far as it's concerned, because man has lost more from that era than man has gained. She talked about the idea of nutrition, for instance. Nutrition has become worse, and there has been an increase in wars and genocide and things like that. People have had more reasons to kill one another because now this is mine, which wasn't always the case. We know about what's happening in many parts of the world, Africa, Nigeria specifically right now, with the herdsmen and all of that. It's because their ancestors have lived for a particular way for thousands of years, and they want to continue that right now. But because now we've drawn borders and we said, no, you can't cross here. No, this is not your country. This is my farmland. It has become a problem. Of course, it's very complex, and you can't just use. There's some history, there's some politics. There. So it's a very complex structure. But all in all, I think this is a very beautiful book, and to understand how things work in life, I think it's important to read this book.
I don't think it's a complete book, by the way. I think I have too many questions. Like if I meet him today, the amount of questions I saying, but what happened to this one now? So what are you now saying about the question? It's not about. When I finished the book, I was like, I have so many questions. It's not even funny. So I don't know whether to call it, but I don't think
complete for me means broad. Like he addresses
exactly. I don't think I've ever read a book that's tried to pull all those things together. Disclaimer. The book, they say, is the brief history. That word brief, I lie you.
It's brief now because it talks about it talks just a little about it. It doesn't delve too deeply into it.
It is not brief, bro. It is not. I listen to it. I listen to it. 15 hours of occasionally you pause and go back so that I can rehear.
But that's brief now. Talking about a whole lifetime or billions of years, 15 hours.
I'm just saying, don't be deceived by the word brief. That's what I'm just trying to explain to you. Because brief, they know. What brief is like this or like that. It is 15 hours long. So just disclaimer, but honestly, it's worth the read. I think anybody that is interested in, asking questions, why are we the way we are? What's happening in Africa? What was here before? What's happening in the US? What was there before? How did it move from? All those things, it's all in there. Yeah, it's all in there. The guy dug through records and came up with this what happened, this how that happened, and all that. So it's a great book to look into. Thank you so much for watching. I forgot to tell you already. Please like this video, the thumbs up. Please hit the thumbs up, and then subscribe, and then share. This month, the month of May, we're celebrating Africa month of Africa. Do you understand? So I'm going to spend more time. The idea in this channel, we're going to spend more time digging into this kind of thoughts, like looking at humans, the laws of nature, kind of thing. Just those type of theories and all that. I'm going to put a link below of 2 documentaries I just found on YouTube, so that in case you can check it out, you can find out why the world is so patriarchal, what our economy might be doing to us, and what you can do to bring yourself above all that, so that you don't have to stay and be rat racing with every other person. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.
Bye.